For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christian Gerbevak. I've had the pleasure of knowing Will since 2006. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Which brings me to my first story, the story of how we met. Will transferred from public school to private school in 6th grade. Joe and Carolyn saw the writing on the wall and wanted to make sure William wasn't indoctrinated by the state. On our first day of 6th grade, Mr. Kristoff picked me out of the crowd and tasked me with being Will's welcoming committee. He said, make sure William feels a warm welcome and enjoys his first day at Holy Angels. At first glance, I thought, wow, Will is wearing these puffy skater shoes. He's a public school kid, and he looks like Cartman from South Park. He has to be a dick. I reluctantly accepted the role of tour guide, but who knew that would be the beginning of such a beautiful friendship. David Kristoff forced a best friend on me, and for that, I'll forever be grateful. I think I got Will's number that day to be an ass kisser, just to call him at the end of the day and report back to Mr. Kristoff the following day. I figured some goodwill with the teacher wouldn't hurt, right? Since that time, Verizon's lost a ton of money in our friendship. You can ask Will's mom. We used to have to wait until 7 for the free minutes to kick in. I feel like my whole sense of humor was developed in 6th grade based on those phone calls. We've known each other since before unlimited minutes, to put it into perspective. I don't know what we'd talk about, probably just crack jokes at someone else's expense. Maybe some morbid humor. Perhaps we were discussing how difficult it was to hold back laughter at the most inappropriate times. One time I'll never forget was when John Proctor was hung in the crucible. Absolutely disgusting that we could laugh at that. What can you say? It is what it is, Miss Bennett. I could say we've outgrown that, but I'm joining the Knights of Columbus next week, so I can't start off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, you can. We'll talk later.
We went to school together, played sports together. Joe exploited us for child labor at the cabin together. Just kidding. Francis, you're lucky you were a baby at that time, or you'd be on cleaning leaves duty. You know, some of my best memories with Will and Joe were up in June Lake. We would work 9 hours a day and fish for an hour. We had some amazing times up there. I joke because it's a language I'm fluent in, but I really appreciate the Larkin family for those times in June Lake. My favorite part was the bullnose Ford with no AC. Very pleasant cruising up to 395 in July. I guess I've never really publicly thanked you for those times, Joe, but they really were some of the best memories of my childhood. Uncle Charlie and Uncle John shared some of our same humor. Thanks to you guys for the laughs we had up there. I don't know if I was sore from the manual labor or cracking up all day. Well, Will and I finished middle school together and ended up at the same high school by a stroke of stupidity by our 8th grade teacher. Will ended up at his second choice high school, and what a blessing that was. Although we played different sports and hung out in different circles, we always stayed friends. I had a period of time where I wanted to be taught baseball, but Will was a baseball enthusiast, not a miracle worker. Absolutely no hand-eye. We experienced St. Francis in different ways, but left with the same appreciation for our experience. When high school ended, Will ended up at the University of Arizona and I at the University of San Diego. Will had an amazing time there, met some awesome people, some of whom I met at Will's bachelor party, and some of whom I'm sure I'll meet tonight. Will and I always kept in contact during college. We'd always pop on the phone like it was sixth grade again to get the recaps. College ended and we both moved back home, the 626 SGV, as we like to say. After we graduated, I asked Will to help me with my newly formed construction company until he found a job he was looking for. Without hesitation, he agreed. As always, Will was up to the task. Where am I on here? Whether it be helping me out in the office or helping out in the field or fending off a mama bear and some cubs, we affectionately refer to those days as the war stories. By the way, a mama bear and some cubs stole Will's lunch on one of our projects. It's a true story. Although the war stories are behind us, I feel like we'll always be able to tap in and have a laugh about those times. To me, we'll always be those kids kicking each other under the table at the most inopportune times. You've been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember. Always there for the milestones, always dependable, trustworthy, and prepared to turn anything into a bit. I'll forever be grateful for our friendship. You'll always be my third brother. Megan, I know this speech has been an ode to Will, but what can I say? It's 2024 and the minutes are free, right? You know, when Will told me about your first meeting, I had a feeling you were the one. I know every best man says the same thing, but believe me when I say it. Will loves you so unconditionally, so purely, and so strongly. He loves you, your friends, your family, and your values so strongly. He talks about how you'll be such an amazing wife. He talks about how much of an amazing mother you'll be. In my opinion, that's the greatest compliment you can ever give someone.
Kids.
He talks so optimistically about your future together. Will be the most amazing husband and father you could have prayed for. He'll always put your family before himself. You two have been blessed beyond measure, and it's through God's grace you've been matched. Will, just remember, sarcasm doesn't have the same effect when you're married. And I'm speaking from experience. Everyone raise your glasses to the Larkins. Cheers. Love you guys.
Love you, brother.